Yeah. Who's the other person?
Please know you're already live.
All right, let's see. All right, I think everybody is. Okay. All right, everybody's here. I'm ready to go. All right, so welcome everyone to our regular meeting. It is 7:06. I am calling the meeting to order. All right, so we have invited um, EnviroScience and also BBS to come um, to just discuss the findings that has taken place over the last, the testing for the last, I would say a couple of weeks. Dr. Chase, do you want to add something?
First of all, good evening, community members. Thank you all so much for tuning in and being a part of this meeting. And I thank Carl from BBS and Glenn from EnviroScience for joining this meeting. The community has already been apprised of where we stand in terms of the ventilation at RJ Bailey, Woodlands Middle High School, and the other schools that were tested. And while we did receive favorable results from our other schools, there were areas concerns at each school which were quickly rectified, but there were bigger areas of concern at RJ Bailey and Woodlands Middle High School. We've met with parents, we discussed remediation procedures. EnviroScience have come back to provide a report for Bailey Elementary School. And although there is still some work that needs to be done at the high school, we're not at a perfect place by no stretch of the imagination. And so we've communicated all of this to the community already. The board asked that we bring in both BBS and EnviroScience to this meeting. And so I'm going to actually shift it back to the board because it was their request to have them here. And I'm pretty certain that we will be talking about next steps for Bailey Elementary School because there are some concerns there, and BBS could help us to begin to sort of parse out what needs to happen, a timeline, what it might cost, and that will be helpful.
Yes, so the board did ask for both parties to come because we weren't able to, I don't think many of us were able to participate in the individual schools meetings. So we'd like to get the information directly. I guess, Glenn, if you could go first and share, some background as far as the latest, most recent tests and your findings and your recommendations.
Sure thing. So a report was prepared that was an initial audit of all the buildings in the district on September 28th. And we identified a few nominal areas of concern within Highview and in Jackson Elementary. We further then identified a condition in Bailey where there were non-functional univents as well as rooms that had no univents. Discussed a strategy with Mr. Falcone about supplementing those spaces with fans to increase ventilation in those spaces. And then in the high school, we identified a number of areas where there was no mechanical ventilation, both from univents as well as from exhaust fans, the result of a number of exhaust fans not being operational. After we wrote that report, the district purchased fans for the windows at Bailey, and we returned to do an assessment at Bailey and found those corrective actions to be adequate for those locations, and prepared a report on October 16th stating that. Currently, we have been asked to come back and assess offices within each of the buildings. That report is mostly finalized, and we were asked that we hold on to that report until the corrective actions take place in the high school, where we would then come in and do a follow-up assessment in the locations where the exhaust fans were not operational. So that's in general where we're at this point in time.
You're muted.
David?
Sure. Okay, so regarding the fans at RJ Bailey, my understanding was that back when we were doing the facilities tour at a conceptual level, the fans were an interim solution, and we thought, okay, this will buy us a month. The fans will create ventilation, but we may have trouble maintaining temperature as it gets colder. I've come to understand that the fans sort of performed better than expected. Does that mean that we think that that we have proper ventilation and we can make it through the winter, at which point we can then have a longer term solution? Or do we need to do something as it gets colder?
It would be difficult to simulate that, to answer your question and simulate it at this point in time. You're correct in stating that the fans worked better than expected. What that means, it's not as complicated as it sounds, that the fans have variable speed and that we were achieving proper ventilation at the lowest setting. And so that was good. And that is encouraging in that theoretically, at least, you'd be able to maintain heat in the building in some fashion while continuing to ventilate. But I guess what remains to be seen whether or not that heating will be even across both the classroom as well as throughout the building, as well as in spaces where there is no natural ventilation. So if you want to counter balance the effect of bringing in outside cold air and establish heat across the entire building, that means in some places where you're not using fans to ventilate, it may be warmer than you'd like in some of those spaces. I think it would be hard to simulate what life is going to be like in January.
So then, since we can't simulate, how do we monitor, and what do we do if the conditions are suboptimal?
So we would have to consider either supplemental heat or cooling in places where the heating is uneven, and we would have to also pursue an opportunity to either make repairs of unit ventilators that are currently non-functional, if that's possible. And I've been told that because of the vintage of those units, that's not possible. Or we'll have to forego a level of ventilation for occupant comfort.
That is not a desirable outcome.
None of these are desirable. You really have to choose the lesser of two evils. I would say, for instance, and this is, it's hypothetical, but let's say in the context of having low COVID positive test numbers and having a population within a building that's doing well in that regard, you might forego some of the ventilation in lieu of occupant comfort. If the numbers are higher and you develop a hotspot, that type of thing, then certainly you'd want to either be able to emphasize ventilation or you'd have to come up with a remote strategy.
So there are different forms of remote strategies. One would be to relocate to other rooms in other buildings or find other facilities. And of course, our ultimate fallback position would be go full remote, because that's what we're coming from. We can always drop back to that if the other strategies are not successful.
That's right.
So,
and I mean, as a percentage of the high school, Mike might be able to answer this better than me, but I think currently over 50% of the high school is deficient in ventilation, that there are systems that are not, that are currently non-functioning. Would you say that that's the case, Mike?
No, the ventilation is working. Okay, it's not because of the trunk lines and how nobody really understands how it runs. We have exhaust fans that are that went down. They were working last month. The HVAC. I think once we get the exhaust fans working, you're going to create that negative pressure that's going to bring more airflow into the building. When I was up on the roof, because after the first one failed, I started looking around, and that's when I realized one of them was off. And when I called the contractor, he said every one of them were on. And then, honestly, to tell you the truth, I found another one 2 weeks ago. So I have 2 fans on order, for exhaust fans on order. So I think that has a lot to do with the test results. And we're talking about high CFMs. These fans are huge. They're probably 2.5 feet, 3 foot in diameter. I'm trying to remember if it's like 30,000 cubic feet per minute. So I think once we replace them, I think the high school is going to fall into place.
As far as ventilation goes, of course.
Yeah.
It doesn't address the question of heat.
Of heat, you're going to have, we have an old antiquated ventilation system. So the dampers are really not working, outside dampers, and even the indoor dampers. But the district knows about this. It's been in reports before, and I've been saying it for a while.
Okay, so backing up a little bit, monitoring, I assume you're walking around with thermometers and checking the temperature of the room from time to time. And then we're coming up with, I guess we need to have a little stockpile of heaters and or air conditioning units to do things on a room by room basis. Is that what we're going to do in the short term in order to deal with Bailey?
Bailey School, I feel a little different than how everyone else thinks. We're closing the windows every single night. Once you close the windows every night and you heat the building up, it's going to maintain heat. Yes, when you come in, it's going to be very warm. Okay, but once you put the fans on, it's going to start mellowing out, get a little bit more comfortable. You're probably not going to feel the cold until later in the day. And this is just an opinion, my opinion, where we can get away with it. Is it a solution and a fix? No. We need to look forward. We need to take action. But right now, can we get through the year? I'm going to say yes. Why? I always look at the positive. I always think we can make this work.
Okay, so how often are we going to check the temperature?
We have thermometers in every room. There's a thermostat in every single room. Okay, one thing you have going for in Bailey School that you don't have in other buildings, it is a steam system. Okay, you want to talk about heat? I could talk about heat all night long with you. We get a lot of BTUs out of steam versus a hot water system. So I think what's going to happen is that you're going to get enough heat out of these radiators to compensate of the cold air. Of course, if it's blistering, you have a blizzard outside, high winds, that's something totally different. But yes, and if you want to talk, once again, steam is a different heat than any of the other buildings. I really think we can make it through this winter.
Okay, and are we
All right,
going
David?
forward with the, yes? All right, I'll stop.
Yes, so I'm gonna put you on pause. Terry and Amy has questions. So Terry.
Okay.
Thank you. Glenn, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly regarding the assessment of the offices. Did you say that you were going to wait until the corrective action is taken before releasing the report? Did I hear that correctly?
That was the last discussion that we had. Honestly, given what I'm hearing, I mean, it's up to the district as to how they'd like to approach that. I'm ready to release the report on the offices. Honestly, there are not many locations of concern, but that was the original plan. And if someone were to say tonight, you know, that it's going to be another 2 weeks until the high school's closer to being ready, then I would say release it now and make the corrective actions that have been identified.
I mean, haven't we been releasing the reports prior to taking the action so that we could get a sense of the scope of the work?
Yes, up until this last one, when they were done almost contemporaneously, I think it was one day and the next,
Yeah.
that we have been doing that, yes.
Yeah, but personally, I would like to see the report prior
Sure.
to the corrective action being taken. And
I have it.
And speaking for myself, just knowing what you guys have done, I'm pretty sure I'm going to support it since you've probably forgotten more about this stuff than I know. So, but I think having the report first is the way to go, and certainly consistent with what we've done. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sure thing.
Amy? Amy, did you have a question?
She's muted.
Amy, yes, I see her. She's unmuted. Okay. Went back to muted. Amy, I just want to know if you had a question. Okay. You're unmuted now, so we should be able to hear you. Okay, maybe you might be having difficulty. Are there any other board members that had questions?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question, Madam President, if you don't mind.
Go
It
ahead.
had come to my attention earlier in the week, late last week, I should say, that there was a concern about the fans in the windows at Richard J. Bailey, that they didn't fit and had to be secured with cardboard or something. And I'm wondering if that is indeed the case, and if so, what protection precautions are being taken to protect a situation that could cause them to fall out of the windows.
Those fans are fitting just perfect. In fact, we even raised them because your concerns were they were going to be blowing on the kids. We changed the cardboard out. We did not use the cardboard. We ended up using an insulation board, so it can hold the heat into the classrooms better than cardboard. Okay, and as I said before, we fit them so snug. Once you close the windows for the type of fans we have, they're in the grooves pretty tight.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Amy, I see you're unmuted. Are you ready with your question? Amy, you might be having difficulties maybe with your sound. You are unmuted, but we definitely can't hear you. Okay. Any other board members who has an ask a question? Okay. Ms. Carey?
Yeah, just a question. We were talking about releasing a report. I just want to ask the gentleman if the report is complete. Is it a complete report, or is there something that needs to be added that you would want the board to see?
I'm not sure I completely understand your question. The report for the offices is complete. We can submit it tomorrow to the district, and we'll carve out the high school locations that were awaiting retesting because they're not going to be ready. And so, but that portion of the report is ready to go.
Okay, it seems you understood me quite well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carey, do you have any other questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy?
I wanted to follow up on Mr. Warner's question. How often will temperatures be taken in the room as far as the temperature of the room?
How far, honestly, believe me, we hear it. When there's something too hot or too cold, we hear from every teacher there is that's in a room. Okay, but once again, you're not gonna have a problem. It's a steam system. Okay, if anything, I really think you're gonna still be on a warm side.
Okay, and then the I have three. Second question I have is that you did say that you're gonna be opening the windows and that every night you go around and have to close all the windows. Do the janitors then reopen the windows and turn on the fans in the morning when they come in, like before the kids get there?
Absolutely. So the night crew is going to shut every window. Okay, this way we're going to retain the heat. In the morning, I have 2 staff members. They're going to be opening up each window. And how the windows are, it's not just one window. There's a storm window, and there's the window that's in front of it. So the fan is on the storm window side. So they're going to be closing the front and opening the front while the other one stays in place all winter long. Okay, so all they have to do is slide it over to the right a little bit, and now the fan is exposed.
Okay, does that include, I know you said that you found some ventilation systems off. I'm trying to read my notes, but I wrote so fast, it's chicken scratch. So you found some things closed. Does that include those areas? Or are you also checking those to make sure that they're still running and they're not broken?
I think you're talking about 2 different systems. I
Okay.
found high school. That's totally different. We're on Bailey School.
Well, aren't the windows open at the high school too? And the high school's gonna have fans also.
High school's gonna have fans or different fans or pedestal fans. If you want to talk about the high school, I bought enough for all of B area. Okay, so we have a fan. Actually, we have even extras. So just in case we have a report. But I'm confident that once I get those 3 or 2 fans operable, which I'm hoping that it's going to be, it should be here by the end of this week, and then we should install those exhaust fans by next week. If we get those in there, you know what, I'm hoping, let me just say, I'm hoping that once I create that negative pressure, we're going to have adequate airflow in B building.
So that's my second question. It really sounds like it's a lot, because like I was asking a question about something you said about Bailey, and you said that I ended up kind of referencing Woodlands, and I signed up for this. I volunteered to be a board member, so I spend my time looking into this, but a random parent or person may not fully understand each piece. Is there any way to get like all of this in just one place? Not a bunch of reports. It's good to post the reports, but not a bunch of reports that some people may not be able to read through, but like a very simple, in a way, I don't even know if this is possible to do simple, but a simple working document that's kind of posted, that's maybe 2 pages max, but that breaks down the 4 buildings that we're in, because it's Jackson, Highview, Bailey, and Woodlands now. Yeah, the 4 buildings that we're now in, and actually just says, how ventilation is working, what ventilation systems there are, because I did hear you say that there's steam in Bailey, which is actually going to be good for the heat and for the winter. So is there a way to do that so that we can just post that and people can reference that and read that and it be like simple? Because even as a board member, it's hard for me, and I'm writing down the notes, but to keep track of the different type of heating systems, and right, this is not my profession, so I get it. It is complicated, but is there any way to just kind of do that for people?
So our reports, Tracy, have a letter that precedes the tables. And within that letter, at the very end, it summarizes the deficiencies.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Glenn, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I don't mean in the reports. I understand what you mean about the deficiencies. I'm talking about kind of what Mr. Falcone is saying, and much cleaner and easy to read language in one place instead of different reports. That's what I was asking. And maybe it's not possible, but I'm just asking if we could do that for people.
You're talking about like, Tracy, like a brief summary for each building in layman's terms that says, hey, these are what's happening, this is how it's being addressed, this is what it should look like, something like that.
Something very simple so everyone can just reference it in one place for all 4 buildings. I don't know if it's possible, tell me no, but that's fine. So that's my incumbent second question. And so the third question is exactly, and it's not specifically ventilation, but it's cleaning. So I don't know if you want me to ask this now or later, but I really want to know from, do you want me to ask it later, Antoinette?
Yeah, hold on for a second.
I will hold it, I got it.
Thank you. David, I know you had, I think, other questions that had to do with the ventilation portion. So if you do, share it. If not, we're going to move forward.
Sure. So are we going forward back to RJ Bailey now? I know that we've been concentrating on the classrooms. We had those 2 big non-functional fans for in small rooms up towards the roof, for one for the auditorium, one for the gym. Are we going forward with ordering the replacement parts necessary for those 2 areas? And will that have a positive impact on anything else? Or are they separate systems and we only need to worry about the gym because of inclement weather and kids needing to stay inside on certain days?
The auditorium, you need a whole brand new unit. That's something totally different. And I believe BBS said that that whole unit was shot, ductwork was shot, and they had to remove it when they did a asbestos abatement. The one for the gym area, I believe he gave us a price on trying to revamp what's there. I have to look back. I've been on vacation and I haven't been around for a while. So let me find out if he sent it or, in the emails. But as far as I know, is you said go forward with it as long as we have the money. But I know
Yes.
we're going to
And
get.
that is my second question. Yes, go forward. Don't wait. Do it now because it's going to get cold. My second question is we authorized, I think, $750K. So are we out of money? How close are we?
I would have to look at the spreadsheet.
All right. So get back to me on that. That's it.
Folks, I'd just like to make a comment about the heating system at Bailey, if you will.
Yes,
It
please.
might give you a little more comfort. I know, Dave, you were asking a lot of questions about, is the heat going to keep up? And you also, Tracy. Generally speaking, when buildings were built back when Bailey was built, 95% of them were steam heat. And it was the intent to have your ventilation mainly come from operable windows. That said, the buildings were equipped with enough heating equipment to be able to fully heat the spaces when the windows were open in the middle of the winter. So I want you to have a little bit of comfort with that, but obviously if you have an exceptionally windy day or something like that, all bets are off. There'll certainly be times when you might have to have the windows not be open as much as they were, or you might have to turn off the fan. The other comment I wanted to make is that it's great that Mike went through the effort to get the fans and have them installed. Current mechanical code allows for the use of operable windows to get all of your ventilation. And that building, all of the standard classrooms in that building that have windows, they do meet code. Obviously because of COVID, we're, I think, trying to exceed code.
Yep.
As long as everybody's comfortable. So those are my 2 main things I wanted you all to keep in mind. If somebody asks you guys, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? It's 10 degrees out today, can't have all the windows open.
Could you describe for us?
Thank you so much.
Could you describe for us the longer term plan for R.J. Bailey classrooms that's already in the building condition survey?
Well, the long-term plan for that building would be to have all of those mechanical systems replaced, all of the classroom unit vents, all of the air handling equipment. I want to emphasize also that I'm not just telling you, you guys have to go out and spend millions of dollars to do this. That equipment, parts have been unavailable for that equipment for many, many years. So in a nutshell, you got your money's worth. But that's not even really the point. The point is replacement parts to make those units function properly are unavailable and have been for quite a long time. So I think Mike has probably been running around like a chicken trying to keep things working, but it's a losing battle for sure.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Okay.
Antoinette?
Okay, Tanya?
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up David's last question. I'm wondering if Mary has the answer, because it was really unclear to me how much funds are left over currently from the $750,000 that the board approved. I saw in one place that 279 were left over. I don't know if that's really true or not.
I will have to go back and look, and I can put that in the Friday packet.
Mhm.
Please know we compare that to what's actually been paid, and they'll be doing another check run shortly.
Okay.
I do know that while the board approved 750,000, I know that there are things that need to be replaced, as Carl mentioned, that will exceed the 750, so we can't do it. So
Sure. No, I was just, I know that because I've seen those numbers as well. I was just wondering if we could just get even a ballpark estimate of how much is left from the original sum that was approved.
Sure, I'll look on the shared Google Doc that we have.
And encumber it, figure out, okay, these are the things that we may not have had the purchase order yet, but this is what these items that we're definitely going to go for will cost, and will we exceed our allotment?
And that's what should be there, but I will double check and make sure that the support staff has added that to the spreadsheet for you.
Thank you.
Okay, Terry?
Thank you. Mary, let me ask you this. You said, tell me if I caught you correctly, things that need to be replaced, there are other things that need to be replaced, but we won't be able to do it with whatever's left over from the 750,000. Did I hear you say that correctly? More or less?
You will not be able to fix everything that needs to be done with that 750.
Sure. Earlier in this school year, when we first got back to meeting, you and Mike came, the administration through you came with a figure that the majority of the board rejected for Bailey. What was that amount?
Roughly 2.5 million, just under 2.5.
So let me ask you this. So had we approved that 2.5 million, would that have been enough to do the work that remains to be done, and as well as the other work that you said needs to be done?
Would you like me to chime in on that, Mary?
Yes, I would, because that's a loaded question, because the numbers that we used were based off of what BBS had said, but there's more to the ventilation than just that initial number. So thank you.
Yeah, in my opinion, and I've been estimating these jobs for quite some time, that building, please don't have sticker shock, that building is probably going to cost in the $4 to $5 million range to get all of the mechanical systems replaced. That is my guess.
Right.
And please understand, that's an off the top of my head guess. I believe Fred Seba of my office has put some numbers together for various mechanically related construction projects. I can get with him tomorrow and perhaps send up an email with some of that information. I think some of that information, if not all of it, may be included in the building condition survey report that was done earlier in the year.
So Carl, let me ask you this. It sounds to me that we may be throwing good money after bad.
Exactly.
Well, that is not my personal opinion. And the reason I say that, and I've been involved in the reconstruction of a number of different buildings that had been out of service for many years and that were older buildings and were in significant states of disrepair, both from a mechanical, a plumbing, and a general construction standpoint. If you drove by these buildings, you would wonder why they hadn't been torn down, basically. We had rebuilt many of those buildings for, I'm going to say, in the neighborhood of a quarter to a third of what it might cost to build a new building. So those are the kinds of things you need to discuss when considering this. You take a document like your building condition survey, and there's a summary number that enumerates all of the items we flagged as needing to be done. There's also numbers there for items that don't necessarily need to be done, but they might be nice things for you to have. So you have to decide which items you're going to do. When you add them all up, although they will be a major cost, they will be significantly cheaper than trying to build a new building. I'd love to sell you a new building, but it would be irresponsible of me to do so.
And final question, I think, is this. I'm not sure it's to you, Carl, Michael, or Mary, but whomever wants to take it, please have at it. Would we have been farther along with analyzing, assessing, and getting remedial measures in place had we approved the $2.5 million that was requested at the beginning of the school year?
I'm not so sure that would have helped you all that much. And the reason I say that is if one of the biggest expense items that would need to be done at Bailey would be to have all the classroom unit ventilators replaced. So keep in mind that if I were given that project to do for you as an emergency, it's going to take me probably 1 to 2 months to get that project sent up to the state for review. The state would review it on an emergency process and hopefully approve it quickly. Once you have a contractor in place, which would probably take another 1.5 months minimum, once the contractor orders equipment, it's nominally a 3 to 3.5 month lead time to get that equipment. So as you can see, all of these things are really lining up against you. So undertaking one of these projects, it takes planning and thought, and it takes major amounts of money, as you may have gathered from some of my earlier statements.
Yeah,
Final statement, a final comment, if I could, thank you. Final comment I would make is it almost then seems to me that just given the time frame and obviously the significant sums of money, that kind of contradicts, and this is more you and I just having a little discussion, it kind of contradicts the statement you made about not necessarily recommending a new building, because again, get back to my first comment, just from what I've heard from you, we're throwing a lot of money in a building in which is still, at the end of the day, going to be inadequate as far as size is concerned, not to mention all the other things. So
I can't comment on things like that for sure.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm sorry, Antoinette, I think Mike was going to say something in response to my question, if I may.
I just want to add, I don't think we're going to have enough money to complete the auditorium ventilation I really don't think we're gonna have enough money to complete the gym. I have to look at those numbers again, because don't forget, I had 2 more exhaust fans that are on order, and I gotta figure, I gotta see what the total cost that's gonna be, plus bills that have not, have been brought to us yet. So could we have moved along if we had more money? Yes, we probably could have said, okay, go ahead and complete that project on the auditorium, get that completed, complete the project on the gym. Okay, complete that one. I could have added a lot more exhaust fans. We fixed old exhaust fans to make it work, lubed it up, tried to get new motors just for that, which the housings are shaky. You could have put all brand new exhaust fans, which you would definitely need. That's where I think the extra money could have gone.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Carey.
If I'm not mistaken, back when we were given the information in which we voted on the $750,000, we also told administration that if they were in need of more money, that they could come back and ask us. All we asked is that they give us a rundown of what was needed and how much it was going to cost. Now, I've been accused of being old and senile by a board member, so I'm wondering if I'm telling the truth or if I'm also dreaming and being senile. Did we not say that, or no one remembers?
No, yes, Ms. Carey, that was said. Thank you. That was
so
said.
I just wanted to make sure that if it was said, why administration didn't come back to us and ask for more money to do what they had to do, because there was over $2 million that they presented to us. I'm just asking.
Madam President, may I address that?
Thank you. Yes, Mary, go ahead.
So yes, we did ask for 2.5 million, which is what was recommended by the architect. The board gave us $750,000. For us now to go back and say it's an emergency to the state probably is not going to work. Normally, emergency projects, if you think about it, we had a water main break, we had boilers go down. We submitted plans and specs, but we did that work and we were completed prior to SED approval. So for us now to go back and try to say, to replace a unit that is $3 million and say it's an emergency, it's not anymore. So anything that we do from this point forward, you're not going to be able to consider an emergency with the state. We've done the best we could to try to get things up and functional. And the board opted, the 750 is what the board gave us to work with. So that's what we're working with.
And that you could, again, just come back to the board and request additional. So I don't think she's talking about like now, today, this week. I think she was just talking as you guys moved along in the work. Tracy, you had your hand up. Are you no longer wanting to ask your question?
I do have my hand up. Thank you.
Tracy had it.
I'm sorry.
Tracy had her hand up first. That's why I'm asking her if she changed her mind. Tracy, have you changed your mind? Hearing none. Terry, please go ahead.
Mary, Dr. Chase, or Mike, are you in essence now coming back to us for additional money to repair things? Is this in essence the request, fulfilling the request that we extended to you if you had if there were additional issues?
No, we're not coming back right now to ask you for more money. That's going to have to be plans and specs. Consistent with, let's go back for a moment. When we had the boilers go down, we worked with the architect and we asked the architect, what do we need? What's it going to cost us? We actually asked the board for slightly more than what it would cost us to make sure we didn't come in higher. The board approved that. We were able to get that project done. When we asked in July or July or August, we asked for 2.5, you approved 750. So for me now to come back and say, I need $3 million more, I can't just go ask for that. You're gonna have to have plans and specs. You're gonna have to have public hearings to use the repair reserve money. It's not deemed an emergency anymore. It's not like you have, like when we had the water main break, water was gushing into the neighbor's yard. It's not like that. Mr. Falcone was able to repair or try to make work the systems that you currently have. And that's only a temporary fix. So when we come back to you, it's going to be at a much larger scale to really address the issue. The items that Mr. Falcone and his team have done, they're nothing more than Band-Aids.
Right. But I think the point is that with the larger allocation that you would requested, we could have expedited some of the issues that we are facing now.
In my opinion, yes. If you had approved the 2.5 back then, we could have ordered some of the larger equipment that we knew was needed. Now we
Okay,
can't.
thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy.
I just wanted to clarify because a couple of the board members asked what was on the spreadsheet. I do know that things have to be added, so I was able to pull it up. It looks like remaining from the 750 is 272, 629, 73. And this is just from this spreadsheet. Again, I understand there are things that maybe need to be added, but that hopefully will answer, I think it was Mr. Warner and Ms. Strajic's question. So, and you can pull up the spreadsheet yourself, just so you know. I pulled it up on my email here. I just want to tell you what, Oh, if you go into your Google Sheets, the spreadsheet should come up. And it's called, I just looked at it, sorry, I had to pull it up again to give to you. It's called facility something, because of course the iPad is not moving fast enough. But you can, if you open your, when you open your Gmail, if you hit Sheets, we all have access to the document, and I understand the facilities department will update it with what current is in there. But I just wanted to clarify that you can find it if ever you need to access it.
It's called district-wide ventilation, BOE approved, $750,000.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Dr. Chase, are there any further recommendations that you have with all the information that we've heard and all that has been done so far for the board to consider?
What I would like for Carl and his team to provide the board with some concrete information where they could make a decision about long-term, short-term goals for not just Bailey Elementary School, but we also have issues at the ECP main building. We also have issues at Woodlands Middle High School that continue to, peek its ugly head. So if there could be short-term, long-term goals, just moving forward, I think that will be very, very helpful for the board to make informed decisions about their facility projects.
Thank you, Dr. Chase.
Does the board have any other need to have Glenn from Enviro Science on? I think we've answered all the Glenn. Okay.
Wait. I see two hands are up. I see two hands are up. David and
Tracy beat me to the punch. Go first, Tracy.
Tracy.
Thank you. So with EnviroScience, I'm not sure if you'll have the answer to the question to this, but something tells me you will. So we are, we are questioned, I've been questioned, there have been questions about cleaning the buildings and making sure, of course, that we're cleaning the air, but also the surfaces. And I'm just wondering what exactly constitutes a deep cleaning. What makes a deep cleaning rather than a regular cleaning of our building? And that includes surfaces as well as the air quality.
We're cleaning our buildings every single night. We're cleaning it and then we're disinfecting it every single night. Okay. When they say deep cleaning, we're doing the same exact thing as whether you call it a deep cleaning or cleaning. Okay. We're cleaning all surfaces and we're disinfecting all surfaces.
So there's no difference between the cleaning that happened prior to March 2020 to now?
What we're doing differently now is that we're disinfecting everything.
Okay, so the disinfecting. And for example, in the classrooms, I've gotten a few, sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to chime in, Carl.
No, I'm sorry.
I've gotten a few questions from parents. I tell them to go to the administration, but they call me anyway. They want to know about wipes and whether or not the children, certain parents are sending in wipes with their kids. I don't know if that's okay or not. And they're wiping down surfaces. Is that additionally happening? And does that help to constitute deep cleaning?
We have a spray bottle, a disinfectant spray bottle in every single room in every building. Also with, whether it's a rag or it's with paper towels, so they could disinfect any surface that they feel uncomfortable with.
Okay, so we don't need wipes because we have disinfectants with rags or paper towels. Carl, is there anything that that you can answer about deep cleaning at all before you go?
I'm assuming, and this is just an observation of what I see a lot of districts doing. I'm certainly no expert on this stuff, but I see a lot of school districts using what looks like a toy machine gun that atomizes the disinfectant. And literally they can spray it all over every desk. And that's what's been happening in the districts that I've been seeing. I assume you're already doing that though.
Oh yes, I was one of the first ones that had sprayers
Sure.
and disinfected. We were one of the first district that disinfected every single night.
Right. And I want to add to that, Mr. Falcone, not only are we disinfecting our classrooms and our workspaces, we're also disinfecting our school buses twice a day as well. And we're doing a deep clean, as well as those high touch surfaces. We're doing cleans in between during the day, more so than usual.
Okay, thank you. And the disinfectant is just like a regular, is it a special disinfectant or?
It's a hospital grade disinfectant.
Great, thank you so much. And I just got an email from you, Dr. Chase, about, so is there, I don't know if Glenn can answer anything, I'm sorry, Carl, can answer anything with regard to this, or if Dr. Chase, you're gonna talk about this email in your superintendent's report.
I don't know which email you're referring to, but
no worries, it just came through, that's why.
I did send an email to the full board earlier today.
No, I think this is from as a parent, I'm getting this, I think.
It's the same email you received earlier, the full board received.
Okay.
David?
I'm sorry, I didn't get an answer.
Okay.
Sorry.
Dr. Chase had said
I'm sorry, hold
something.
on, David. Tracy, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just got the email, so that's why I'm asking. And right, so this is the email that you sent to the full board. Dr. Chase, are you going to address this in your superintendent's report tonight, or should I ask my questions about it?
It is my plan to talk about it in my superintendent's report.
Okay.
Because it's an email that went to the families, and I have prepared statements that have already been asked of me. So I do know that people are waiting for the superintendent's report, and I will address it there.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Okay, Dr. Chase had mentioned that we needed short-term and long-term goals for the ECP main building and Woodlands Middle High School. I could tell you what my assumptions are, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Regarding the ECP main building, my understanding was that it relied on natural ventilation. It was grandfathered in, and we thought we were going to open the windows, run the air conditioner or the heater as necessary and work things that way. It turned out many of the windows didn't open so well. And what with one thing and another, and out of an abundance of caution, we said, let's relocate several classrooms and administrative offices to Highview, and that has happened. So my assumption at this point is that we do have quotes from the building conditions survey on what we would need to do to improve ventilation significantly at ECP. I figured we'd put that on the queue with, what do we do for the mansion? What do we do for ECP main building? What do we do for Woodlands? What do we do for Bailey? What do we do for all the different schools? And we'll figure out in terms of how much money we have and what our priority is long term, where that project fits in. I had assumed that in the short term, we were going to keep our students at Highview and be good with that. Am I wrong there? Is there some other short-term goal that we should be looking for relative to the ECP children?
That is for Dr. Chase. Am I correct, David?
That's correct.
I'm sorry, what was the last question?
The question is, do you envision some other short-term goal for ECP students, or are they locked into Highview for now?
So Mr. Warner, right now they're locked into Highview Elementary School. We were able to find appropriate space for them. It really should not be a long-term solution or short-term solution. Well, it's a short-term solution, should not be a long-term solution. I apologize. I know that there was conversation with the board some time ago about a long-term solution for those ECP students and removing them from the main building and possibly adding on to Lee F. Jackson. That was a conversation during the bond process too. And it was a conversation I think that most of us wrapped our arms around and, embraced as a possible solution so that you would have a pre-K through 1 facility so that you have that early childhood facility. I'm going to say that need, I'm going to say that grade band and the relevance of that, I think it still exists, but again, it has to be a decision by the board, and that's all I can do.
It's LFJ expansion versus rehabilitating existing building, and you compare costs and what size bond you think the world can handle at this point.
Sure, and it was a smarter solution. And like I said, it was a solution that most of us embraced during the bond procedure because, it allowed us to focus on early childhood instruction. It gave children that nice continuity and they weren't changing buildings yet again. And so, maybe the board will entertain that at some other time in the very near future. But, the main building does pose its problems, which is why the kids aren't there now.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Are there any other questions? All right, hearing none. Carl and Glenn, thank you for joining us, sharing some more information and answering lots of questions. We appreciate your input, and yes, BBS, we will be looking for some short-term and long-term goals and projects, including costs in regards to addressing these issues as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Bye,
thank
everybody.
you. Good night, thank you.
Good night.
Okay.
Ms. Gordon,
Dr. Chase?
Yeah, before we move off to executive session, I know that's the next item. Mr. Falcone, I want to thank you for joining us today and for jumping right in. I know you've been out for a while, and I think you were out again today, so I just really appreciate you for that. I just want to say that parents and Ms. Maris started this, and I cut her off on purpose because I didn't want to confuse the two issues. Today, families received a letter from me about Legionella testing, water testing. I'm going to address that in my superintendent's report. I did not want to discount it, nor did I want to trivialize it by saying just wait. I just want to make sure that parents hear from me that yes, you received notification about it. I am going to speak about it later on in my report, but I didn't want it to appear that, it was trivialized and, just, it's not important. It is important. So I'm going to spend some time on that a little bit later.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chase. Ivy has given the reminder that it is now 8 o'clock. This is public comments. So we're gonna go ahead. Trace, do you have the list?
I do. I believe the first person on the list, and I think I did see her in the waiting room,
I gotta
is
go.
Miss Ruth Mitchell.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna admit her now.
Okay. Hi, Miss Mitchell. I believe you should be connected to us now. You just have to unmute yourself, Miss Mitchell. Yes, I see you're unmuted.
I still see her as muted.
She, on my screen, she comes up, unless, yeah, on my screen, it looks unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah, I see muted as well.
I'm unmuting her. Let's see. Oh, well, I can't unmute her.
No, you can ask, but she has to unmute.
Miss Mitchell, you have to unmute yourself. Usually, Laser, I can unmute people, so I'm not able to now. So, Miss Mitchell, if you can hear me, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay.
We're ready.
Good evening. I guess I'm supposed to start talking?
Yes, Miss Mitchell, we're ready for you.
Okay.
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right. I can sum up a lot in 2 minutes. Okay. All right. First of all, I am calling because I wanted to know if there's any 3 or 4-year-old children that are not in pre-K program at the Greenburgh school system. 3 or 4-year-olds in the pre-K program.
Dr. Reynolds, I guess she's waiting for an answer. I don't know if she's going to do all her questions first.
Well,
or...
Dr. Chase, you should be answering that since you're the superintendent. You should know.
Yes, ma'am, I do know. But are you going to ask all of your questions first, or do you
I want answers. No, I'm going to get answers here tonight.
Miss Ruth, could you stop the clock for 1 second? Let's just stop.
Let me say this.
Wait, Miss Ruth, could you hold on for 1 second?
Okay.
1 second. You asked your questions. Let's just allow the questions to be answered. Let's be respectful of everyone. All of us to be respectful of each other. So let's please keep it to that. So hold on. That one question you had is, are there 3 or 4-year-olds in the pre-K program? Dr.
Yes,
or Dr. Chase, whichever one, please just, if you could respond.
Sure. We have 4-year-olds in our pre-K program.
Thank you. Ms. Ruth, what's your next question?
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not leaving out any children here. Okay. And my next question is, I want to say, I've been in this district for over 75 years, and I was one of the oldest, I am the oldest and one of the first members that was on the scholarship fund for Greenburgh Central School District. And our fund is no longer on the homepage, and some people have been looking for it, but they don't go online to check it out. So I'm wondering why we don't have the fund. Now, I would like to have the fund put back on the homepage, the scholarship fund. Could somebody answer that? I think that's a board question.
Okay, hold on, Ms. Mitchell. Hold on, Ms. Mitchell. As far as the scholarship fund being on the homepage, Dr. Chase, is that something that was on the homepage and it was removed?
Not that I know of. We don't put outside organization information on our homepage. The board is reminded that several years ago, we had this issue, and the attorney at that time shared with us that we
Has to
that
be like a
could not.
separate
We
entity?
could not, right. Now, what we can do is offer a link to those particular organizations. So let's say if it's PTA, it'll be a link on our page, or if it's a scholarship fund, that there will be a link. And so I have confirmed that there is a link on our page to the scholarship fund.
Is it on is it on, I guess, the main, the main page, or is there a particular area so that people can know where to look for it?
It's under the community section.
Okay.
It's still under the community section?
Yes, so
Yes, ma'am.
So Ms. Ruth, you'll go to the community session, you'll see a link for the scholarship fund, and people will be able to click on that and they'll be able to find the information.
Okay.
All right.
All right, because
You have a minute left, Ms. Ruth.
All right, because that has been, like I said, I'm the oldest member of that fund, and it was been more than 60 years that we was always on the home page for the Greenburgh Central School District. So that's why I want to make sure it's still on the home page. And my other question is, I want to know, about the air at the Bailey School. I hear something about the air system at the Bailey School. And do we have any children in the Bailey School now? Anybody in the school, in the Bailey School? Or all our children are remote learning?
So the students are currently at Bailey School. They started this week. We have a hybrid model. And what we mean by the hybrid model is that you have half of the students who are in 1 week, while the other half on remote. And then we rotate each week. So yes, and yes, we did have ventilation issues, but we were able to rectify those ventilation issues in time to accept and welcome our students as of Monday.
Oh, okay, very good, because I was kind of surprised when I heard about the ventilators problem that we were having when we had Mr. Falcone. If he knew there was a problem, I mean, why it wasn't corrected? That was my next question.
Ms. Mitchell, Mr. Falcone has been focused on addressing the various areas of our facilities.
Okay.
All right,
very
so
good.
Ms. Mitchell, you have 8 seconds left.
That's okay. That's it for now. I can't think of anything else I want to say. That's it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mitchell. We appreciate your questions. Have
Okay.
a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
So,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Mitchell, now we're gonna just remove you from the meeting. So if you want to see the rest of it, you should go on to the YouTube live stream.
Oh, okay. I can't stay. Okay, I can't stay on here. All right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Okay, next on the list here, I have Roy Fenichel. So I'm gonna find him and let him into the room.
Tracy,
And I'm
can you
gonna,
remove Ms. Mitchell because I can't see that screen now that the time
I
is up.
can't see it either. I have to go through the, oh, now I can see it. Okay. Yeah, I'm removing her now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, yes, I got it.
All right. All right, your time is ready and up. It's hard. I can't see him in my picture, but I know he's here.
He's there. He was muted. He's unmuted now.
All right.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. 28 years ago this month. Hello?
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 Somebody else needs to move.
Maybe, can you mute?
Turn your YouTube off.
Can you mute the, yeah.
YouTube is.
Can you hear us?
Mr. Finichel, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time this evening. 28 years ago this month, Navy Vice Admiral and prisoner of war, James. Yes, hello. Hold on.
Okay, so Mr. Finichel, I think you might have the YouTube stream running at home too, so that's what's causing.
Are we all in the same meeting?
Yeah, but do you have the YouTube portion of it playing in your home, or
I thought this is being done via Zoom.
it is via Zoom? But if you're playing it, I guess at home, we're probably hearing that background feedback.
We have a whole family here, but can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. All right, let me start over. Thank you for your time this evening. 28 years ago this month, Navy Vice Admiral and prisoner of war, James Bond Stockdale, opened his debate as Ross Perot's running mate by asking the famous two questions: who am I and why am I here? Who are we? We are concerned parents of Greenburgh children. We are family members, neighbors, teachers, taxpayers. We pay for your successes and we pay for your failures. Like Stockdale, our words have fallen on deaf ears, and we have waited many months to address you while you are secretly making district determinations rather than solely focusing on safe schools and our children's safe education. Now you finally let us speak after you have already decided our district's future while we were distracted with pandemic safety issues. You promised to listen to the community, to engage the community, to keep us involved, yet you have used technology as a wedge rather than as a bridge between you and the community. We didn't even know you were seeking new leadership, much less that you already decided. You never said what you were doing mid-pandemic, that you were seeking new leadership rather than focusing on the safety of our schools. Why not wait for next year to decide after a full year of input from families, neighbors, teachers, stakeholders? Don't our children deserve the benefit of hindsight? And don't you owe them a fiduciary duty to focus on the current emergency and the pandemic? So why are we here? We elected you to make decisions transparently, to safely educate all Greenburgh children. And you have a fiduciary responsibility to make the safety of our children your focus this year. For the board, for the administration, for our teachers, for our families, not to misdirect money and resources away from our children. Let's work together this year. Save leadership decision-making until next year, after you have a better idea of what our children need in the future.
To finish, I'll just pause for a second. We need to make sure that you are not discussing specific personnel matters, and that's what it sounds like. So if you could just please keep your comments generic. You have 7 seconds left. I did stop the time, so you do have 7 seconds left.
Well, you started about 20 seconds late, but I'll finish up in 2 sentences. Let's work together this year and save leadership decision-making for next year after you have heard from the public, the students, and the teachers on what we need. Final question. With all the health, wellness, education, teacher, student, parent concerns in the middle of a pandemic, I ask you, why now? Why not decide our future leadership next year?
Thank you for your statement.
Does anybody have a response?
My response, I think, will be we've had our attorneys here, we've had Nisbet here to explain the process, and that is the process that we followed. And that's the response that I have. Moving forward, we've also discussed in our past meeting that we will have, the community involved in the process. We are taking each step by step. And as we can make the public aware of what each of those steps are, we will do so. We will do so. Right, thank you for your statement. I'm sorry, Mr. Finetto. That's my response to your questions. I appreciate you making your statement and posing questions. Thank you. And we're going to move on to the next person.
Okay, next person I have is Mrs. Kelly Johnson. So let me just see her. I'm going to admit her now. And I have to remove Mr. Fenichel.
I already did, Tracy.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right, thanks. Oh, you're muted.
Am I on mute? Everyone can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to Dr. Reynolds and Dr. Chase for having that meeting with the parents at Bailey prior to the opening of the school. I also appreciate everyone bringing in EnviroScience today, because a lot of the questions that I have were actually addressed through them speaking this morning, just before this meeting. I will say though, when we had the meeting at Bailey, there were at least 60 parents on that call, and they all had very similar concerns. And while I appreciate the fact that the building passed the recent air quality assessment, I'm still a little concerned about how it's going to affect the colder winter months. I want to know how we're going to monitor the air quality as we start pumping more heat into the building. Is there a plan for that? And honestly, my biggest question was talking about the long-term plan for the buildings as far as how we were going to fix it. It's still a concern. And I just hope that we can come up with a plan for the long term, as opposed to some of these quick fix plans that we have going on right now. So I'm just hoping and really urging the board to look into some long-term plans so that we can try to fix not just Bailey, but Woodlands and ECP, so that they could be functioning and better for our children. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. I'm not sure if you heard, but we do have BBS will be providing recommendations for short-term and long-term projects and fixes to our facilities.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you so much for your questions and for your time. You have 23 seconds left.
That's it. That's it. Thank you, though.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Next. Oh, I see Dr. Reynolds' hand up. Antoinette.
All right.
Thank you. Through the president, just to address one portion of Ms. Johnson's question, we have to keep in mind that the test that was done in Bailey was not an air quality test, it was a ventilation assessment. So as it relates to the cooler weather and the amount of heat that's going to be pumped into the room, there's not a need to assess the air quality. We need to ensure that the ventilation continues, number one. Number two, each room, if I heard Mr. Falcone correctly, has a thermostat in it, so we can measure the temperature that way in each of our classrooms. So those two things together should address some of the concern that Ms. Johnson just had.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds.
Okay, next on my list is Jessica Muldoon. I'm gonna let her in right now. Okay, she should be there.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good. Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your time tonight. I just wanted to start off by thanking the staff at the Lee F. Jackson School. They have communicated with parents and caregivers to ensure that we knew the expectations of the hybrid model. I specifically want to thank my son's teacher. Last week, he was still remote in the hybrid model, and she ensured that the students at home were engaged in learning. He returned to school in person yesterday, and even with a mask on, I could see how big his smile was when he got off the bus. It was a great day. I have 3 questions. My first question is, do you have the current enrollment for this number of students in the district?
I don't have the exact number, but Jessica, give me a minute. I'll send you an email shortly.
Great, thank you very much. Following up on that, I wanted to know what the board's plans were to improve retention of students across grades K through 12. Specifically, what is the plan as students transition between buildings? What sort of engagement will happen for students who are coming into the district for the first time this year? And for any students who've moved out of the district because the hybrid model did not work for them, what will the district be doing to re-engage those parents to hopefully bring them back for next year?
So Ms. Muldoon, since you're answering that question, asking that question on the spot, the board will need some time to consider your questions and get back to you. So we will do that. I'm assuming you emailed. No, you did not. You would just put your topic is, but could you email Ivy so that she can share it with the whole board, and we will definitely get back to you.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
And my last question is will the 2020-21 district holiday calendar be updated on the district website? It still has tomorrow as a half day, as well as for the rest of the year. So I just wanted to make sure that the communication and calendars are accurate for going forward.
Sure, Ms. Muldoon, just anticipate, and everyone who's listening, those dates are going to continue to change. The calendar is going to continue to remain fluid. Yes, Miguel Barrios has been extremely on top of this, and it's really my fault why it didn't change, because he asked me 100 times, can we change it? Can we change it? Because there's going to be so many changes, we didn't. But moving forward, I realized that changing it on the calendar will help parents. So you will see that reflected in future changes. But just anticipate there will be changes down the line.
Great, thank you. That's all I have for tonight. Have a good night. My children are calling me.
I hear
All
that.
right, thank you
Enjoy
so
them.
much, Jessica,
Bye.
for your questions and being with us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That sounds like my house over there. Okay, so next on my list, I have Linda Lee. And I see her name here. I'm going to admit her right now. I see her. It just says connecting to audio, I think. Okay, there she is. Okay. Linda, you're muted still.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Just trying to get through all of these different screens on my computer. Okay, great. Should I start now? Oh, now I can't hear.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I missed the beginning of the public comment section, so I apologize if I'm repeating any questions. I wanted to start by thanking Dr. Chase, the GCSD administration, and the board for your work in continuing to improve the district for our students and families. My daughter had a great week at LFJ, so I especially want to express my gratitude to Principal Simone, Mr. John, and the staff at Leaf Jackson for all of their hard work in preparing the school for the return of the students, the Leaf Jackson PTA for reaching out to parents and connecting us with administration, and especially to my daughter's teacher, Mrs. Lamana, who is absolutely incredible. I'm sure I'm not the only parent who is thankful for this touch of normalcy and for all of the work that has gone into ensuring that it is done with care and thoughtfulness in the long shadow of this pandemic. I requested to speak today about two topics, the first of which has to do with the board meeting process. Many of the board members have talked about wanting to engage the public, and yet public board meetings start off with closed executive session, which forces the public to wait for an indeterminate amount of time, which is incredibly discouraging. I'd like to ask, please, is there a particular reason why meetings begin, say, rather than end with executive session? Did you want me to finish all of my comments and then do the questions that the answers?
You can laser pause that real quick. I can only say that, and again, David, Terry, they've been around longer. Since I've been on the board, that's the way that I've seen it. I know that we've tried to we've talked about changing it in different manners. We just haven't done so far. And so tonight we were supposed to go into executive session first. Of course, we didn't, because we did have the board requested to have BBS and environmental science here. And when that took a long period of time, it didn't make sense for us to then have the community wait, again, which is why we, wanted to make sure that we started the public comments portion at 8 o'clock. But all I can say is, ever since I've been elected, that's has been the way. I'm not really sure why.
Then if you want to start the timer, I would kindly encourage the board to consider that going forward. And I didn't realize that you guys hadn't gone into executive session in order to start public comment sort of on time as scheduled. So thank you. My second topic is about the superintendent search process, in which I will only discuss what the board has put forth. I'm sorry about the lighting, like lighting the room.
It's okay.
And not any personnel issues. So when the board publicly announced its determination not to extend Dr. Chase's contract, the board said it would, quote, continue to engage the community when appropriate in the search process, end quote, despite not having engaged the community in the original determination. And in addition, during the October 6th public comment section, the board president said that, quote, the exact process has not been laid out to us as a board, end quote. Are we to understand that almost 2 months into the process, with the board telling the public that this process is transparent, that the community will be engaged, that it has not yet been determined what that process will actually look like? Who is laying out this process for the board? How is the board sure this process will be transparent? Will this meeting to discuss the search process and committee structure be public? When will it occur? And at what point will this process and timeline be shared with the public? Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
No problem. So as far as the process, how it has taken place so far, the board interviewed or had an RFP seeking proposals. Then the board interviewed the top, the 3 candidates. Then the board made a selection and we approved that pending on a contract, approval of the contract, which we are doing that today. Once that portion is done, then we will meet with whoever the company is, Ray and Associates, whoever they assign to us. They will meet with us at a public meeting to discuss the, all the parts of it, from the timeline to advertising to community engagement to the makeup of the committee. So that will be the next thing that takes place.
Okay.
And so that's that conversation. So we have to kind of go, you select the person, you approve, and then you approve the contract, and then they come and they talk to us in a public meeting and ask us questions. And so we can figure out what the process will look like and what the timeline will look like.
And is that meeting scheduled already?
The meeting is not scheduled. We actually will be scheduling it, but it's not scheduled for it.
And
at this time, because we have to first, go through today, approving the contract.
I imagine that would be announced to the public when that happens.
The contract part?
The public meeting.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. All right.
Okay, next.
Wait, Linda, that was it, right? It says Linda. Your name may not be Linda, but it says on there. Okay, so that was it. All right. Thank you so much for your questions and your time.
Next on my list is Catherine McGee, Katie McGee. Oh, I'm sorry. Here she is. I'm admitting her right now. Thank you.
I can't see her. Okay. It's connecting.
It just says connecting to audio, but she's here.
Katie, can you hear us and can we hear you?
Yes, I think you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. I start talking and the clock will go?
Yep, you start talking and the clock will go.
Okay, I'm looking. Yeah, thank you so much for not going into executive session after having the guests tonight. This is helpful to keep the timing for those of us who had tight schedules. So thank you for having BBS and EnviroScience tonight. Again, like I guess Kelly said, we had some questions. We also wanted to hear the board's questions, and I really appreciate all of your line of questioning. It was very close to, especially Mr. Warner, that was very close to what questions I had, and basically good to clarify that what we might expect in the upcoming winter weeks, because we parents have to decide whether we want to send our kids into an environment like that may be uncomfortable or may not be giving the adequate ventilation. So I echo what Kelly said. We need to have ventilation assessments done later on when the heat is on, and lots of communication with the parents and what's going on. So with that said, I know Mr. Warner was trying to get a facility and fiscal committee meeting next week he was aiming for, and is that in the works? I mean, has that been decided or arranged? So there's a question. And then, oh, okay. I see I'm running out of time. I wanted to say real quick, when the assistant superintendent of business position is open, that person had other roles like deputy district clerk and other things. So just make sure you figure out who else is going to take those roles. And we need a lot of teamwork and focus on the kids, all of us together. And thank you, David Warner, for sending me the report. That was an excellent example of teamwork and extra effort to engage parents and keep us in the loop. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, for your questions and your statements.
I have one thing I want to say.
David, go ahead.
Okay, I just spoke with Mike Falcone. Our first Finance and Facilities Committee meeting will be next Wednesday, October 28th at 5 p.m. It'll be a Zoom call. We haven't quite figured out who our secretary is. So for right now, if you want to be included in on the Zoom call, I can post something, and you can also contact me at dwarner@greenburghcsd.org. That's DWARNER at greenburghcsd.org. Thanks.
David, can you say the date? I didn't hear it.
That is Wednesday, October 28th at 5 p.m.
All right. Thank you, David. Thank you, Katie. All right, Tracy, the next person.
Okay, so the next person I have is Miss Denise Alamo. So I'm gonna add her now. Okay, I don't see her in the waiting room, but I do see another name, DJ. I don't know if this is Denise Alamo. I'll try it to see.
Tracy, is that the next name on the list, or no, it's different from your list?
My list is
that might be, maybe that might be it.
Denise Alamo. It says DJ Awesome.
Well, it's connecting, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And if it's not her, I will put her in the waiting room, not kicked out of the meeting this time.
And Tracy, it is 8:38 as well.
Okay. It just says connecting to audio and it's muted. And it's unmuted.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Is this Denise?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
That's Miss Al.
Thank you everyone for having me. And my name is not DJ Awesome, by the way. I don't know how that shows up there, but good evening, Dr. Chase, President Darden, and board trustees. Again, thank you for your time this evening. I have one question and more of a comment. In reviewing tonight's agenda, item G1 references the demolition of the caretaker's house at a cost of $73,790, which is a substantial amount given the ventilation challenges and existing short-term resolution of box fans. Has any consideration been given to postponing demolition and utilizing those funds to address Daly's priorities? Perhaps a more cost-effective solution could be a wire fence. That's my first piece. Second, over the summer, the board received a communication with feedback regarding your exchanges and expected decorum during public recorded meetings. We are at a critical juncture as we embark on a search for a superintendent amidst unprecedented trials, uncertainty, and instability. From my perspective, that person would be inspired by our story as a community to drive continued progress to our challenging landscape. Someone whose vision can best serve the students of the district and help to move the needle further. That said, it is reasonable to expect that an interested candidate will review historical footage which can reflect unfavorably and potentially discourage interest. Our public image matters and begins with each of you. I impress upon you to keep the sentiment contained in that communication at the forefront as you continue to work together on behalf of the parents, children, and community of Greenburgh. Differing opinions and meaningful debate should afford us the opportunity to take pause and find ways to vet opposing perspectives in a constructive manner, considering all viewpoints towards optimal outcomes and resolutions. And I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alamo. I'm gonna, I don't know how David feels about it. I know part of the issue with the Morton House is that it seems to be, there's a lot of reports that is some misuse of the building. I know we were unscheduled to demolish it. I don't know how that process goes, if we wanted to change direction or not, but I'm assuming that could be something that the facilities committee could discuss and talk about. And as far as your I'm gonna say, go ahead, David, is your hand up?
I can put my hand up. I was waiting for you to finish.
Oh, okay, I'll come back to that. I would say, Ms. Alamo, in regards to your email and your statement, I agree. All right, so David, I saw your hand up. I'm sorry, Ms. Alamo, were you gonna say something?
No, that was it, just acknowledging. Thank you.
All right, David, I see your hand up. Terry, you're after David.
So the existing recommendation from
David, I'm sorry,
last year's,
real quick. I'm sorry, David. One quick interruption. If we could just be as brief as possible, because it's 8:42 and we have 1, 2, 3 other people to go. Just wanted to remind everybody.
hello.
Go ahead, David.
Okay. The existing recommendation from the facilities committee was to demolish. We went through a process of increasingly, once the building was emptied out and we no longer had a caretaker there, then people started to break in and do things they shouldn't do that were unsafe to themselves and possibly others. And we made repeated efforts to make the building harder and harder to break into. So pretty soon you saw that all the windows were covered with plywood. There was the thing with the cameras. We did all kinds of things to make it hard for people to use the building, and they kept becoming more industrious in breaking in.
Okay.
So I think a wire fence is not going to cut it. And the amount of security you would need if you didn't have having a person there, you wouldn't end up saving any money.
Okay.
So my opinion is that we should go with the recommendation we've got. I don't know, maybe the administration wants to weigh in on this as well.
Thank you, David.
You're muted, Antoinette.
Terry.
Yes, Ms. Alamo, thank you for your question. I'm going to try to be more brief, particularly since David did fill in a lot of the stuff. So basically where we are is this. The Facilities Committee made a recommendation. The full board voted to proceed to demolish the building for the reasons that David stated. In order to reverse that, it would require a board member who voted to demolish it to ask that it be rescinded, as I understand it. You know, basically the horse has left the barn unless somebody who has voted in the affirmative wants to change their mind now.
Thank you, Terry.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Alamo. We're going to move on to the next person. We appreciate your question and your statement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
In there.
Okay, next on my list, and I So that was it, but then I have 3 more with the asterisk next to it. I don't know if that means, so that means they're speaking.
Yes.
Okay. So next on my list is is Amy Wang. I'm gonna start to let her in now, but it looks like here the deadline for submission I guess was a little more flexible this time, but moving forward, right, we have a deadline for admission for requests to speak. Yes, no?
Yes, there's a deadline. Everyone should, when you look at the link to the meeting and all of that information, just please make sure you're sticking to the deadline. We will be.
Okay, I see Amy's there, but muted.
Okay,
You
I got it.
unmute her? Okay, good, she's on.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. Since my time is short, I will read a quote by Dave Burgess. He wrote, "Teach like a pirate, increase students' engagement, boost your creativity, and transform your life as an educator." And the quote starts, "Why have so many schools reduce the time and emphasis they place on art, music, and physical education? The answer is beyond simple. Those areas aren't measured on all important tests. You know where those areas are measured? In life. Art, music, and a healthy lifestyle help us develop a richer, deeper, and more balanced perspective. Never before have we needed more of an emphasis on the development of creativity. But schools have gone the exact opposite direction in an effort to make the best test-taking automatons possible. Our economy no longer rewards people for blindly following rules and becoming a cog in the machine. We need risk takers, outside the box thinkers, and entrepreneurs. Our school system do the next generation a great disservice by discouraging these very skills and attitudes. Instead of helping and encouraging them to find and develop their unique strengths, they're told to shut up, put the cell phones away, memorize these facts, and fill in the bubbles. That's the end of the quote. We are all educators, even though we may not all have Masters of Education's degrees. Your actions as the GCSD Board of Education trustees will impact generations of children. Our kids in GCSD are bright, creative, and full of potential. Let us support a curriculum and an administration that will lift up and enrich all of our children's education. That's the end. I have 3 particular questions. What is the status of the IB diploma program? Who will head the program?
Amy, I'm sorry, Amy, your time includes questions. So your time includes questions, and we do have 2 other members of the community that needs to go as well.
So how would I get my questions answered? Do I have to come back again another time?
You can email your questions and we will respond to your questions then.
When will CEC resume? That's usually when I get my questions answered.
The CEC, we haven't, like, as so far the committee hasn't met to we're trying to plan when the first meeting is. We're trying to see what that date is, but we haven't settled on one yet. We'll do so. David, Tracy, we need to.
So how do you plan to engage the community as you written in your letter when you don't even have like a vehicle set up?
There is a vehicle, we just haven't had the date, but your time is up. So I'm gonna suggest that
oh boy.
If you could just please send us your questions. If the CEC question was not a part of that in there, please put that in there as well, and your questions will be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Antoinette, I have my hand up.
Terry, yes.
Amy may be gone by now, but you know, the little back and forth that you had with her, she could have asked her 3 questions. And let me preface that by saying you're absolutely right. Her time had run out. She had used up her time. But I've been keeping note of times today, and quite frankly, a few people did go a little bit over their time as well. And again, you know, she certainly did go over her time, but to ask 3 questions, I don't think would have been
It's asking 3
too
questions. I
much.
hear you, Terry, and it's asking 3 questions that will probably warrant responses. Then that itself,
Right.
with it being 8:50 and
But
everything,
you
sort of takes
engaged,
away from the other people.
you engaged with Miss Lee.
You did as
Miss
well.
Lee,
You
who asked,
engage with other people as well too, Terry.
I didn't
So
engage with anybody today. The only thing I did, look, this was as in your
Can I
role as
bring in the
president.
next
All I'm
person?
saying, excuse me, all I'm
hold on,
saying to you, Antoinette,
Tracy.
thank you, Antoinette, for showing some maturity that others seem to lack. All I'm saying to you, all I'm suggesting to you this time is, because this is still kind of new, you certainly gave Amy a chance to go, even though she missed the deadline, and because you showed that kind of flexibility, which I think is applaudable. If you could just take her 3 questions, because some others had extra time to do things as well, given the fact that this is still new.
Thank you for your opinion, Terry. I appreciate it. Tracy, who's the next person up?
Next person is Donna Morton. I'm gonna let her in now. Sorry, we had to delay. Is she there? Yes, it says connecting to audio.
Hello?
Hello,
Hello.
we hear you.
Hi, Ms. Morton. Thank you for
Hi.
joining us.
Good evening.
Okay.
Okay, as an IB school, I'm very proud that we got the IB diploma program, and foreign language is a key element of that program. I have a few questions this evening regarding foreign language. 1, is the BOE aware that for 7th grade, foreign language instruction was reduced to every other day instead of being regular schedule? Now, given that there is no regular instruction on Friday, that means foreign language for 7th graders only happens 2 days a week versus 5 days a week. 3, why this change was made during the summer, no communication whatsoever was sent out to parents, and there's still no communication even though school has started. And 4, on that, many students had foreign language in 5th and 6th grade, but after speaking with some school faculty, they said that amounts to about 1 to 2 months worth of the year 1 instruction in 7th grade. How will the district prepare these students properly to successfully complete the Checkpoint A exam in 8th grade and do that well, beyond just using the Duolingo app? And lastly, summer drag is real, and for these foreign language programs, it's particularly challenging for Mandarin. And I'd like to know what the plans are for the district to help supplement that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morton. I can't speak for anyone else. I can say for myself, I wasn't aware. I can't see the screen, so I can't get to see if someone, okay. So I'm not sure if, as far as these, Tracy?
And I just added that it's not just 7th grade, it's 7th and 8th grade. I believe it's the middle school.
Okay.
That I know of. So I don't know if maybe Dr. Reynolds or Chase want to clarify.
Dr. Reynolds, can you just share with the community, and Ms. Morton especially, what is the plan for foreign language and how is foreign language scheduled?
So thank you very much, Dr. Chase, and to the president. Foreign language had to be revamped because of our remote schedule. We are now back into the hybrid schedule, which means that we will need to meet again with our foreign language department to determine the best course of action to move forward. President Darden, are you saying something? Oh, okay. So Ms. Martin, thank you very much for your question. I will be meeting with Mr. Gallivan, and then we will include some of our members of our foreign language department to see how we can meet the needs of our Checkpoint A for our students. Keeping in mind that New York State Education Department has, and I don't want to use the word relaxed, but they've released the responsibility of minute allocation for checkpoint A as well as other instructional practices. Because of us being in the hybrid model, we have to now put together a plan that's going to be the most efficient yet effective for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Dawn, I think you had, what was your second question?
Well, I want to, sorry, I'm muted still.
Oh,
Yeah,
we can
you
hear
are.
you.
You're unmuted. We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, Dr. Reynolds, just to be clear, first off, if you're saying that if you're saying that I'm understanding, you're saying that that was a temporary, because I don't see how that could be changed now that we're back at hybrid, because my son, for instance, has no room in his schedule now. He was put into another class that we hadn't originally signed up for. And the other question was why there was no communication to parents about this change when it was part of clearly agreed upon in the summer months. And my other one, Antoinette, was what was going to be done for the summertime to help with foreign language continuity.
So in relationship to the continuity, again, that is a part of the planning that we have to put into place. As it relates to the additional courses or programming that your children were offered in place of the foreign language, again, that is the discussion that we need to have. Keeping in mind that the NYSID regulations that are relaxed is for the entire year. It's not up because we are back into the hybrid model. Those relaxations have taken place and been put into place for the 2020-2021 academic year. So again, we do need to revamp. It might be a mid-year conversation that needs to be held in terms of where we'll be moving forward for the remainder of the year, but the conversation needs to be held immediately.
Okay, and my last question, which has not been addressed yet, is why there was no communication out to parents.
Without having an answer specific to the level of communication that went out to parents, specifically in certain buildings, I'll take the full ownership for that, and I'll state that that was my lack of oversight, and I'll make better determinations in the future.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to restate that the lack of transparency and communication is an ongoing issue. And when things like this change and it's not communicated, it creates more animosity amongst the parents and lack of trust with the school district. So thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. That is noted, and we'll make every effort to better ourselves and our practices.
Thank you, Ms. Morton, for your questions and your concerns. Tracy?
Can I just clarify, the parent clarified it is not 8th grade, it's just 7th grade that has the every other day language.
Okay.
I wanted to clarify that. I see Chris V is here, which is so confusing. I feel like she was in the waiting room a minute ago, but okay, I'm glad she's here.
Morton.
So I'm gonna take Miss Moore. Okay, thank you.
Where's Miss Val? Okay, I see her. All right. Thank you, Chris, for being here with us. Your time, when you talk, your time will begin.
Okay, sorry, my other phone battery died. Quick question first about the policy 6220 that you're looking at tonight. And I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the phone, I have to look at the policy. This is one we've mentioned before. I'm just gonna put you on. Mentioned before. It's about temporary personnel. We have an administrative directive to notify parents when a substitute is in the classroom for X amount of days. If it's like, it's either 3 days or 5 days in a row or X amount of days out of 10, let's say. I'd like to see that actually written into the policy so that that communication to the parents is not going to change with the wind as board members and administrative members change. So I just want to put that plug in there, and you can ask me to clarify if I have time left.
Pause that 1 second. I'm just trying to take notes. You said the directive that says what the process is when there is a substitute, you want to see that in the policy?
Yes.
Okay.
Chris, can you clarify if you're asking for a substitute or a long-term substitute? Like
So
the past 5 days?
I believe the current administrative directive is if there's a substitute in the classroom for don't quote me, it's either 3 days or 5 days in a row, that notice will go home to the parents, because years ago, there were multiple subs in rooms and parents weren't aware of it. Previous administration put this administrative policy in place, and current administration is continuing with this. I just want to get it in writing, so it's always there.
Okay, thank you.
And to that note, not just 5 days in a row, we also want to do something like, let's say 5 out of 10 days, because there have been cases where you have a sub for 3 days and then a regular teacher for 1 day, and then a sub for another 3 or 5 days, and then a regular teacher. So somehow to accommodate that back and forth. I'm losing my time.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Okay, you've addressed most of my ventilation questions. I'm just going to roll off the ones I'd like to go through again. I'll ask them at the facilities committee meeting next week. You mentioned that some temporary measures were I believe some temporary measures were put in place at the middle high school building B. If you could clarify what those temporary measures are, or if students and staff are in that building. I'd also like to know if you said RJB currently meets code. Is it the current code or a code that's been grandfathered in? i.e., are we meeting the best possible standards that we can, or are we using standards from 1950 because it's such a new building? I'd like to know if portable HEPA filters are or UVC filters are being used in some of those rooms that have ventilation issues. We've been talking about regular fans to move the air. I'm just also curious about filters.
Okay, Chris, your time.
Well, you guys did ask me a question.
So I know. No, it
Yeah,
did.
I asked her
Whenever
to
we ask the
clarify the
question,
question, so.
whenever we ask the question, your time stops.
I asked her to clarify, and then the clock came back on. So that I think that's what she's talking about.
I just want to say thank you to Mary, because I've worked with her on various committees, and I know she's leaving after the end of this month. So thank you, Mary, for everything you've done for the school and for us parents.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Annie, we have, okay, so as far as building B, temporary, Chris, can you come back and ask the building B question again? You just wanted to get an update on what was happening with building B?
So during the summary with EnviroScience and BBS earlier, Mr. Falcone, I believe, mentioned very quickly that there were ventilation issues at the middle high school. And he specifically mentioned building B, and I wasn't really clear, and he said 2 fans are on order. So I'm not clear what temporary measures are in place now to improve that ventilation if people are actually in that building right now while those fans are being ordered and installed.
I will say we've received fans today and they should be in place this evening.
Okay, super. Are the fans those being turned on 2 hours before occupancy?
Chris, you know your time.
I'm sorry, what was the question about the fans and occupancy?
As far as like what time are they turned on the fans?
I will check with the facilities department, but when they come in the morning, they should be turned back on before the students arrive and faculty arrive.
Guidelines state that they should be on 2 hours before standard occupancy.
People start arriving in the building at about 6 in the morning.
Okay.
So however long it takes them to open the building and go start turning fans on.
Yeah, I think that's what Mr. I have it somewhere in my notes. I think he said when the custodial staff gets in, they turn them on. When they leave, they turn them off. All right, Ms. Valla, I'm going to take you out of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. All right.
She also asked about, she was talking fast at the end, but she asked about portable filters. Is that an option?
Who are you posing that question to, Tracy?
Whoever can answer it. I don't know, Miss O'Neill. I know Mr. Falcone's not here. Maybe Mary O'Neill, or I don't know if
Anything's an option if the board wants to purchase them.
I can't hear you.
Anything is an option if the board would like to purchase them.
Okay,
So
so
if you're
that's
saying to go and purchase portable air cleaners, we can do that if that's what you would like.
okay.
Antoinette.
All right. Yes.
So we had this discussion with Mr. Falcone during the walkthrough, and we were told that they are not deemed adequate. They simply don't have the capacity to filter that amount of air. That's why we went with the option of the fans in the windows. So
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you for that.
Terry, I'm sorry. Tracy, were you still going with questions?
No, I just was taking notes when she was talking fast. I was just trying to ask, but go ahead. You can go to Terry.
No, go ahead.
Is it me or Tracy?
You go ahead.
Sorry. So Adam, so she asked about RJ Bailey being under the current code. Is it the she asked about whether or not it's the 1950s code and they were grandfathered in, or if they were doing under current code. I don't know if anyone would know the answer to that.
I think that's a Mr. Falcone question. So let's wait for that. Do you have any more, Tracy?
We can answer that in Friday's packet.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Dr.
No, I
Chris.
was just reading, I was reading the end of what Chris had asked, so that's all.
I understand.
Thank you, Tracy. Terry.
I can say that they are in the
Excuse
stats
me,
are
David.
in the
David,
virus science
David,
report.
David, I'm sorry. I was just calling on Terry. So if you could hold David, Terry.
Sure. Thank you. I was only raising my hand to point out that Mr. Falcone is not here, and without his presence, it's probably not good to give out information about, at least certainly not from us board members, to give out information. But also, more importantly, now that the public comment session is over, if we could move forward with the agenda and not spend too much time on things that are beyond our expertise.
David.
I can say that the actual cubic feet per minute are listed in the EnviroScience reports that we have posted.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David.
Thank you, Tracy, for managing all the questions at this time. And thank you for everybody who sent in your request to for questions. Just again, everybody, if you could just please keep in mind the deadline to get your requests to speak at the meetings, and we will be trying our best to stick to that. Okay, at this time, we are, it's anticipated we'll adjourn to executive session. So can I have a motion to adjourn to the executive session to discuss the employment history of particular persons being considered for board action this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're going into executive session. Thank you, Terry.
I was going to wait till we were in executive session if we could take a 5-minute break.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Yes. Thank you. All right. So is there anybody to take out? No one? All right. So we're going to take 5 minutes. Steve, are we?
Ivy had her hand up, by the way.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you, Ivy. Ivy?
No, that was to put me in the waiting room since you're going into executive session.
Yes. Okay.
Making you host right now, Internet.
All right. Let me wait. Okay, let's see. Laser, where are you at? Thank you, Laser, for helping with this clock.
No problem.
All right. Okay, this thing keeps blocking. All right. Everybody, you guys know we're on 5 minutes, right? All right, let's see. Right, I gotta find you your GCSD, right?